Attention.
Ragin Review.
The Ragin Cajuns will be a source of pride for this university, for the alumni, fans, and donors as we achieve success in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in the community.
It's about to get really fun.
We're looking for dudes that will stand up. Well, Coach, let me tell you today, I'm here and I'm ready to stand up. And I challenge you, Ragin Cajun Nation, to stand up with us. Stand up with us. Let's lock hand in hand and let's walk through the gates of Omaha.
Hey, I love y'all boys. Let's grind every day starting today. Let's do it. Y'all ready? Alert! Ready? Who's your team ready? Who's your team ready? That's up.
I got one thing to say right here. Cajuns win!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Heard that before. Welcome into the Ragin Review Podcast. Nick, the bus driver, man about town, Josh. We got Big Cat with us tonight, as well as Lane. And yeah, we're late, and that's because of me. I just get a call from Lane. Lane's like, "Hey, you alive?" And I'm like, "Yeah, bro, why?" And I was just working on a project for work and lost track of time and thought I was an hour behind. But no, here we are, man. How are you guys doing tonight? Matt, Josh, what is Owen doing up so late, man? Now he freezes. Man, Lane, we're just off to a bad start tonight, bro.
Yeah. Who knows?
Welcome to the chaos in Ragin Review land. We have got a lot to go over, however, regardless of my tardiness. Let's start with baseball season. And dude, it's here, Lane. Baseball
Finally
season
here.
is upon us. Finally upon us. I know Section A is happy. We'll start that. I know Chico and his crew are ready to go tonight. But
They've already got interesting plans for the weekend. They're cooking Friday and Saturday. Friday is a chili, Saturday is a gumbo if the weather holds up. And then the loser of their fantasy football league is going to be wearing a dress.
Do we know
on
who
Saturday.
that is? Is that trying to think of who that might be. I don't want to see any of them in a dress if we're
Right.
But that is funny. No, that is good stuff. It is I was gonna say it's hard to believe that baseball season is already upon us, but it's not. Is it really? It's not hard to believe. It's just it feels like finally we're here. Been through football season, which obviously was a good fall for us, and didn't end the way we wanted to, but we had a good fall. Then softball season just kicked off, of course, for better or worse. I think a lot of better. We had basketball season. We got through that with the head coaching search that is currently now underway. But baseball season is here, Jerry. Like I was telling Lane, it doesn't. I'm not going to say finally here because it feels like it's time for baseball season. But man, it feels good. It feels good to have that smell in the air, and feels good to be ready to watch some baseball this weekend.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's funny because I'm going back to last season, the South Alabama game, last home game. It was on a Saturday. And we had ruled South Alabama, and they played the seventh inning stretch center field because it was the last game. And I just remember Coach Deggs and the team, tipping their hats to the crowd. And it seemed like just a few weeks ago that happened. And here we are 8 months later, and we're about to throw out the first pitch in a couple days. And I just can't wait. It's time. And, we have a lot of great things happening. There's a lot of great expectations with this team. And I'm just ready to see this team compete. I mean, we're really in year, Coach Deggs said it the other night on the coaches show. He feels like we're in year 4 because he, from 22, he built that staple of expectation. The 21 team was it was a little all over the place. Obviously 2020 was COVID, but 2021 wasn't the type of culture that Coach Deggs and his staff wanted to embody and bring in. 2022 kind of started it all off, and then 23 and 24 It just got better and better each year. So he said this is really year 4 of the Matt Deggs project, if you will. And I'm excited to see it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So let's talk about projected opening day starters as far as lineups go. Obviously not just going to go through 1 through 9, but we have a general idea of what the defense is going to look like with Torres behind the plate. I think it's safe to say Amadei is going to be at first. Cuff's going to be at third. Our middle will be anchored by Markle and Ardwan. Let's talk about that middle infield. You know, we're losing a lot with Debo, obviously, not only defensively, but also with his bat. What do you think, you know, from your perspective, as far as our middle infield goes? Obviously, that's going to be something that we'll have to, I guess, I think once you get some live action against a team other than Louisiana, you know, not just playing ourselves defensively, up the middle, as far as losing Debo, what do you think, Jerry, is going to be the key there? I think it's going to be, I mean, the word's going to be consistency. I guess that's a cheat code. We could say that about every position, but especially up the middle where we've been so solid these last few years. Losing Debo, you know, Markle is going to step in and try to take that spot at short. But what are your thoughts as far as our middle infield and what it'll take for us to really fill that gap this season?
I mean, it's going to take a little bit because you're replacing some really, really, really deep talent that played that field. And when you lose a guy like Kyle DeBarge, who was, I think, what was he, all around 32nd pick in the MLB draft last year, somewhere around there, low 30s, early second round pick, that's hard to replace. I know that there were a lot of expectations for someone like Connor Cuff to come in with his bat, his athleticism, and I know he's going to be playing at third base. But I think from a batter's perspective, I definitely think, you know, as we all talk about hitting is contagious, I do think Cuff and Amadei, their bats are going to be very crucial to what Ardwan and Marco can do. I think they can sort of set that pattern. Now, I am kind of curious to see I think everybody's curious to see what Marco's going to do at shortstop and see how he fields, his natural progression as time goes on. I don't expect him to be Mr. Perfect on opening night against San Jose State. I mean, he's new. So, you know, obviously, unfortunately for him, everybody's going to say he's got big shoes to fill, but that's going to take time. That's going to take time. But Sam Ardwan, I mean, look, the guy, wasn't he the one from Texas, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so he must have some natural talent if the Texas Longhorns were interested in him to begin with. So I do have a little bit of high hopes for him, but just like everybody else, he needs some experience. So, no, I mean, look, it's going to be some growing pains. You know, they may make an error or two early on, and I'm not going to be disappointed yet. Now, come conference time, if we're in, you know, the end of March and they're making errors and carelessness and they can't hit the ball, then I'm going to be concerned. But I'm going to give them a few weeks. Get them a few weeks, get their feet wet, see what they can do. Obviously, it's hard to replace a guy like Debo at shortstop. So, no, I'm looking forward to seeing those guys develop. That's what I'm looking forward to these first few weeks. And look, they're going to be battle tested early, right? You got San Jose State this week. You've got Nebraska. You've got Dallas Baptist. You go on the road to UC Irvine. This is
it's going to be they're walking into
Hornets
nest. Yeah,
but good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let them get their feet wet against that type of competition, because come conference play, I expect them to be well improved and ready to go.
You know, I'm not as worried defensively at that spot with Markle more than I am offensively, because obviously, I mean, your boy Debo was in a world of his own when it comes to his offensive play later in the season, especially. But I think we're going to miss him, especially offensively. Josh, your thoughts on the middle infield? I mean, I think it's a good start to the season. We'll see where it takes us, but I'm not worried really defensively until I see something bad. I think they can play both he and Ardwan can play the middle infield. I'm thinking offensively, where we're going to make up that production from your boy Debo last year.
I'm sorry that I got kicked off. Big Cat unplugged. A little bit of a catastrophe there.
Hey, look, I showed up late. Big Cat unplugged.
I had to leave.
It is what it is. He had to leave.
I had to step away.
We're all good.
It's all good.
So is that topic one? We're talking about in middle infield?
Yeah, we're just talking middle infield. And Jerry, you know, was talking about, you know, his belief in Markle can get the job done, etc. I'm not worried defensively. I'm more worried about the offensive production we're losing from Debo from last year.
No, sacrilege, but I think we might actually be a little bit better up the middle. This team is built. I didn't want to say it. This build, well, look, and JT's a great glove at second base, but Debo kind of struggled at times last year, which was uncharacteristic. But of course he made up for it with the bat. This team is a little bit more traditionally built, where your power is coming from the corners in the outfield rather than your middle infield. So Sam Ardoin can flash leather. That's never been an issue for him. Maybe he hits 260. I'll take 260 all day with a guy who's not going to make errors. Same for Markle. I mean, we know he can play. He's a big, rangy guy. He is a defensive specialist. Can he hit? I need him to be serviceable and handle the bat. I think that's what we need to look for in both of our middle infielders. But as far, are we talking about all the way up the middle or just second and short?
No, we're just talking second and short. I mean, you could go down. I mean, you could look at third. You could look at the outfield. But I mean, whatever you want. It's an open topic, man.
Dude, look, I gotta stay on topic. I could talk baseball forever.
I know.
I think first of all, Sam Ardoin didn't get a lot of reps at Texas, and Markle is probably in the same boat. I mean, they got to see college pitching on a day in, day out, midweek, tough season or a tough series to open the season. These guys need to get up to speed regardless. They're not going to come in here and hit 350 with 15 bombs. I don't expect that. If it happens, fantastic. I'm not expecting it. I expect them to play good, solid defense, and I think that's what you're going to get out of them. Now, the great thing about them is that they have young freshmen breathing down their necks. And I don't know how far you want to get into the young guys, but nobody's going to get a big, long leash with the amount of talent we have behind them. And really, it's only because of experience that the younger guys aren't playing right away. I think that Deggs wants to go with a little bit more of the seniority thing and get them out there, get their feet wet, see what they can do. But as far as raw talent, the guys that are coming up behind our current middle infield, look out.
Yeah, and I don't hate that. I mean, one of the younger guys, his dad, we were talking the other day, and he's like, yeah, a true freshman on this team ain't getting the start on opening day. He's like, that there's just too much talent on the roster, but it's going to be at work while you wait type of thing. And he's going to wait for his first opportunity that he has to prove himself. And I think that's perfectly fine, but I don't think the middle infield is going to be really a bad place to start with that. I think that's something that will evolve as the season goes on. Especially, like I said, defensively, as long as they get the job done, it'll be what kind of offensive production that they have in the lineup there. One thing that we also, or I was thinking about is as far as a leadoff hitter this year, obviously you want to get to a good start on your lineup 1 through 9. No idea we know Deggs he has a different lineup every freaking game. I think he had 2 lineups last year that were the same through the entire season. But let's talk about your 1 through 9 as far as the leadoff hitter. Lee Amade, to me at first base, I'd like him further down the line, but I think you probably have him as your leadoff hitter just because, I love what Lee does. He's a first baseman. He's got power, but he can get us off to a good start in our opening weekend. What are your guys' thoughts? And I'll start with you, Lane, because I didn't give you a chance on the last question. So feel free to talk about middle infield if you like, but who is your leadoff guy this year? Or I should just say, since we have a different lineup every game, in the first opening weekend series, who is your leadoff hitter this weekend?
We'll go back to the other question real quick. During Deggs' opening press conference this week, he did mention a lot of the younger guys. Owen Galt, Griffin Hebert are a couple of the players he named that he expects to see get some playing time this year. But as far as the middle infield, you got 2 guys that have to fill big shoes, obviously, but they're coming from big name programs in the baseball world. So you got to see if they can step up and handle it, or if other guys are going to take the reins and go from there. But
and by the way, thank you for not saying Power 5, because there's no such thing in baseball. Don't get me started on that shit. But go ahead.
But I think a guy like Luke Uhas would be a spark plug type of player to put in the leadoff spot to start the season.
Josh, what are your thoughts? Leadoff guy, first game of the season.
First game of the season, we have what we think we're going to see in the field, but nobody's talked about the DH. I think maybe you use a Maddox Mandino in the DH and use him in the leadoff role. How many guys can you handle the bat, have the speed, and have the athleticism?
I don't know if they want to. I'm looking. I don't.
They may want to use him in the pen because he showed some flashes last year. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it's a young guy that gets some reps that's just smoking. And somebody mentioned Griff, and I think Owen Galt's got a chance to be super good here. Hollins also. We got a bunch of guys that are having really, really good off seasons. So maybe Deggs uses the DH role to get some young guys some playing time. But as far as a true leadoff guy, athletic and quick, and another thing is plate discipline. Maddox Mandino, he's a little bit aggressive, so I don't know. Maybe if he doesn't fit that role, maybe Sam. I don't know. Deggs said Mandino and Cassim Bellard would be options, the DH. So look, there you go. I didn't even know that. It's just something that makes sense to me. He's one of those guys that he's a go guy. He gets the engine going. So he makes sense to me. I think if I had to make a bet on it, I would go Mandino. I go Mandino just because of that. And then he gives you many options. Once you get him on base, he can steal. He can run around the bases, but I don't know. I think it's all going to come down to on-base percentage. So if Lee gets up there and he's getting walks, he's having quality at bats, maybe he does move into that leadoff role. You saw JT do that last year. I like Mandino in the leadoff out of the DH spot.
Good point from Caswell talking about he's a good candidate because it preserves him to be able to pitch later in the game. That's true. I mean, if you get in that position that you need him, he can certainly do that for him. Let's go over, speaking of pitching, let's go ahead and go into the pitching rotation discussion. I know you listen, Lane, to the press conference. Oh, I'm sorry, Jerry. Go ahead. I forgot about you. Go right ahead, Jerry.
It's fine. It's fine. No, I wanted to make a point. I wanted to make a point based off of what Josh said. Maddox Mandino is probably the player that I think is going to be a breakout guy. Deggs had a lot of faith in him even as a freshman, whether he pitched or he put him in certain situations. The reason why I wanted to give my thoughts on this is because I do think that there is somebody that's due to have consistency at the plate, and he's going to be most likely our starting center fielder, and that's Caleb Stelly. Caleb Stelly's always been somebody to me that, first of all, he's got speed. Secondly, he's built kind of like a center fielder. He's not tall, but he's lengthy enough to where he can run from north to south. But I'm waiting for his bat to really get going. If I were to start the season now, here's the thing. We all know the Deggs lineup changes whenever. And by the end of the year, what we're talking about now is going to be completely different. But if I were to start the season out with a leadoff, I'd probably go with Caleb Stelly. And that's only because I feel that he's got a lot of upside. I know we've seen him for the last couple of years. I think this is the year where he can break out. So I want somebody with speed. And, we did it 2 years ago. Drawing a blank right now. Who was he? The Texas Tech transfer. He played for us a while back.
Kyle Olison.
Yes.
No.
Whipple.
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
I know,
Number
just
7.
pulling him out.
Max. Marshak. Yeah. Give me another Marshak type to lead off. Especially
I would have said Olison too, by the way.
Oh, dude, I started saying him
really
from 25 years ago. Well, Jared makes a good point about Stelly. He doesn't strike out. That's the thing.
That's true. He makes contact. I mean, even if he gets out, he makes contact.
He moves runners. So he's definitely I would think a possibility. I still think there are two ahead of him, but yeah, I mean, Stelly's in the running for sure.
I mean, it's a coin flip. We have no idea because, like I said,
we're shooting from the hip. I mean, come on.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, probably going to be 3 completely different lineups with nobody in the same position. So we'll see how that goes.
That would be great, though, Nick. If we can run out that amount of talent against a Division I team and expect to win. I mean, look, this thing's headed in the right direction. I love the young talent. Love it.
Yeah, you do now. I'm gonna clip this and send it to you when you get pissed off in about 3 series. And you have the lineup that you like and Deggs switches it up, you'll be like, oh, I love the talent. Yeah, today. In about a month, you're going to hate it. I know you,
I mean,
Josh.
Look, can we let the season start before I start getting on Deggs?
All right.
We'll give it a few weeks.
I'll give you a couple games. I'll give you a couple games. Lane
and hates prosperity. I don't understand it.
Lane, before I rudely just ignored Jerry there, I was going to ask you, you listened to the press conference today with Matt Deggs, and I do believe we have a pitching lineup. I can't pull it up. I had it in front of me. I know definitely we're going Chase Morgan Friday night. Saturday night starters, guys, help me out here. Saturday and Sunday. I don't have him.
McGee on Saturday.
And Dilhoff on Sunday.
Who's on Saturday?
McGee.
Right.
And then Parker Dilhoff on Sunday.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So I like that rotation. I do a lot, actually, especially with McGeehee on Saturday. I thought they'd come back with McGehee on Sunday, but you have a left combination over the weekend, and I really like that. So I'll start with you, Josh. Your thoughts about the opening weekend rotation. What are you looking for as far as bullpen after those guys? And I'm going to assume, unless they're having a one hitter through 6, we're not going to see those guys for a long time this weekend. But your thoughts in general of the opening day rotate, or I should say opening weekend rotation, and then what's to follow behind him?
Well, I'm looking for Simo to come out and be the dude. For a long time, we've struggled here to have a Friday night guy, the guy. And I think we finally have one. We finally have a guy we can look to and say, he is the stopper. He is this guy that gets our team going on a Friday night. I can't wait to see that. I want to see him come out. I understand that he's picked up a little bit of velo on his slider. I understand that he's snapping off the change a little bit better. I totally expected him to get better. Of course, in the system, another year, another offseason with Gunnar. Obviously, body matures. Chase Morgan has no ceiling. I mean, shout out to Tunchi, no ceiling, right? So I love that. I think early in the season, it's February. You're going to see a lot of arms. They're going to protect guys. That's a robe thing that's been passed down from generation to Deggs and Seth and now Gunnar. They're going to protect people. So I expect to see a lot of one-inning guys, 15, 20 pitches. I would expect that. Maybe we'll see Toit this weekend. Maybe not. I hope so. I can't wait to see him. They kind of featured him on the Beyond the Bases. So, it created another dramatic story to follow for the weekend. I'm looking to see the old guy, the new guys, a bunch of the new guys. I'm looking to see a guy like Holthammer, who showed promise, was banged up here and there last year. People want him to come in and be kind of pigeonholed into the closer role. I'm not into roles. Let's find out where he makes the most sense for this staff. Who knows who's the closer? I don't care about closers. I want to see who can get guys out and where their abilities fit the best. Hopefully, we're going to be in some low-scoring games from their point of view. If you look at what they did offensively, they score runs, especially when they played in the West Coast and in the Mountain West Conference. So this team can hit the baseball. They did lose their biggest hitter, as we'll find out later, in Hunter Durow. He went and played college baseball or professional baseball. So who knows? They have a few things that they need to figure out offensively for them. But I just want to see guys that we expect to be good. Like, I've heard nothing but Blake McGehee all offseason. He had some really nice outings down the stretch last year and some tough moments. I really want to see him take the next step. When he got here from Ole Miss, had a lot of promise. I think he's maybe halfway to that promise that we thought we'd see. I want to see him take a major step forward. And the fact that they're giving him the Saturday role out the gate tells me they have a lot of confidence in him. I know they're in love with his spin rate. Y'all know I've been making fun of that for 2 years. Let's see it. I want to see you give me some crucial outs in big moments and high leverage situations. That's what I'm looking to see out of McGehee. Not saying he can't do it. I want to see it. I think he can. And as far as Dilhoff, look, new guy. They have a ton of confidence in him, giving him that Sunday role. He's a lefty. He's got a little bit more giddy up than Chase is, from what I can tell. Let's see. I don't know a bunch of I got to see these guys pitch against D1 hitting, and we're not going to know. How are they going to respond to the lights being on? How are they going to respond to the Teague? You're going to be adrenalized. Is he going to be able to get through that first to second inning bug situation where your stomach's upside down and then there's nerves? There's so much to find out. That's what's so great about college baseball. It's what's so great about opening weekend. There's a million things to find out. Can Toit come out and be healthy and be effective? Can McGehee take a step? Can Simo be a dominant guy? Can the new guys contribute? I think pitching is the most intriguing story of the weekend as far as I'm concerned, based on the team that we're playing.
Yeah, I was going to say, offensively we're going to be good, because that is exactly what Deggs recruits to is having these hitters do their job. Now, sometimes it takes them a little while to get that under their belt. And sometimes, look, we get off to slow starts. Historically, under Deggs, front half of the season is a lot slower getting going than the later half of the season. So I don't expect this to be any different, especially with the level of competition we face this year. Jerry, talk to me about the pitching rotation this weekend. I'm excited if we get to see Toit at all this weekend. I think that would be a huge win for us. But tell me what you think about the three that are going to start on the bump and what you see after that.
Well, I think, like Josh said, he made a good point about McGehee. There's been a lot of hype about McGehee in the offseason. And, I'm more excited to see, the fact that I trust Gunnar Leger in the way he coaches. And I think his input means so much to what we're going to see with this pitching staff this entire season. I'm excited to see what they saw in the offseason. You know, when you have someone like Parker Dillhoff coming in and being a starter on Sunday, look, knowing Matt Degg's teams, obviously the rotation, unless SEMO is SEMO, is not going to be the same all year long. But at the same time, if you have that much faith in a newcomer like a Parker Dillhoff, who happens to be a lefty, I'm excited to see what he can do. And I hope that, and I know that the pitchers are going to be on pitch counts this week, but I hope that we're able to play guys like Bryce mentioned, Tate Hess, and Dylan Toit's going to come back after sitting out the year with an injury, and you're going to see some of these guys come in and get some good experience that will allow them to hopefully get some good innings and get some experience and get enough experience to where they can strike a few guys out, get out of certain situations, minimize damage, as Robe used to say. And then you have a guy like Holzheimer coming in. Is he going to be the closer? I mean, there's so many different question marks with this pitching staff, but there's a lot of natural talent too. So just like the new fielders we talked about earlier, I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys can do and how they can continue to develop in the first couple weeks.
Definitely. Lane, we'll close it out with you. What do you think about pitching rotation, and what did you hear from Deggs in his press conference this week addressing the pitching for the weekend?
So, like Josh, I feel like Chase Morgan needs to be the guy. As long as we can get off the weekend, every weekend with a win, it makes the team and fans feel a lot better. I hope McGehee has come back from injury and is better than he has in the past. But like Bryce mentioned in the press conference yesterday, Tate Hess is a guy that surprised Deggs, but not at the same time didn't really surprise him. Deggs knew that Tate had that stuff in him, but he's hoping that Tate, along with Holzheimer and a few of the other guys, can beefing up the bullpen and get things where they need to be throughout the season.
Yeah, man. Man, I'm ready. I'm getting geeked up just thinking about it. I'm looking at stats. Josh, I know you got something to say, but before you do, I just want to say, like, literally hearing you guys talk about the pitching situation, talking about outfield, talking about middle infield, we're talking about lineups. I'm getting geeked up, Josh. I'm sorry. I got the chills. I got the chills. I got the frissons.
Been geeked since the season ended last.
I know, man.
Don't forget who the coaching staff went to when we were so thin on pitching in the regional. If you remember the name J.R. Tillett.
Yep.
Don't forget about J.R. Tillett. Here's another thing, Murphy Brooks. Murphy Brooks was a young freshman that got some reps early in the season, and he kind of hurt himself, and then he had some disappointing outings, and not that they gave up on or anything, but I think they kind of just tried to let him learn a little bit. I expect Murphy Brooks to be one of those guys that contributes maybe in late innings early in the season and then develops into somebody we go to late. But I like J.R. Tillett. I like J.R. Tillett as a starter at midweek. I like him to come in long relief, kind of like a David Christie. I think J.R. Tillett's going to be a weapon, like a 5-1 for us. I think that he has a lot of tools. And the fact that they relied on him in postseason play when we had nobody left, and when I say nobody, I mean like the experienced guys that we typically would go to and ride a little bit in a regional situation. They went to J.R. Tillett as a young freshman. So let's keep that in mind. I like him.
Yeah, and what's funny is, did you see the video that they posted with Big Murph this week on the baseball Twitter?
No. Hey, by the way, Andy just told me that Murph is out for the year. I did not know that he has surgery.
Oh, jeez. Oh, no,
speaking of that, are we going to talk about Herm?
Well, that's what I was getting to next. But before you say anything, stop what you're doing after this, not now. Go onto the baseball Twitter page. There's this fantastic video they just released with Big Murph for a preview of the season. So it's really good stuff. But yeah, let's talk about Herman. Expected him to be a big contributor this season, and I'm hearing conflicting reports. Some reports are saying that he may be done for the year with an arm injury. Some are saying he just may have tweaked something over the last couple of weeks, and he'll be back in no time. I saw you shaking your head, Lane. What did he mention? Did Deggs mention this in his press conference, or is this something that you're hearing different from?
He mentioned in the press conference that not only did he have he doesn't know if it was the stomach bug or the flu or something, but he had that on top of his injury. He said he's pretty much day to day, but he doesn't expect to see him this weekend. Maybe next week or the week after, depending on how he feels. But he's not out for the season, according to Deggs himself.
Yeah, and I see you want to talk about this, Josh. The reason that I heard he was out for the season, or potentially, I mean, obviously not something that that was confirmed or denied, whatever, but because it looked bad when he was trying to pitch. There were some issues with him getting it around the plate with his velocity. It was just a tough situation. Hopefully that is the case, and I hope that is correct, because that's just another weapon, Josh, that we have throughout the season if we have Herman healthy and ready to go.
Well, you pitched Herman against LSU. T-Sab, sorry. You pitched Herman against T-Sab. What does that tell me as a team, or as a teammate? You got an utmost confidence in this guy. And the great thing about him is everything he throws moves, and everything he throws starts in the strike zone and dives out of the strike zone. So, yeah, that's a weapon. Especially if you look at his numbers in conference, they were absurd. My man Dougie here is saying that it's a fallacy that Murphy Brooks is out for the season, which is good.
Correct. I hadn't heard that, but hey, you never know.
If he's on the back burner for 2 months, I mean, hey, what better addition in the middle of the season than a guy like Murphy Brooks? I think that I think he's extremely talented, but I like his mentality more than anything. I think he's the kind of guy they play behind, and I like his makeup as a player, as a man. And Bryce makes a good point. Herman was your Friday guy for the majority of the season. He also was hurt down the stretch last year, if you guys remember. So Herman does a lot. You can use him, and especially in the postseason, you can use him in multiple different roles. He can start for you. He can come out the bullpen for you. I probably wouldn't close with him, but he's one of those guys that saves stamina. He's not a high energy every time out pitcher. So I don't know. We'll see.
Not to mention, Murph plays a big role in the team besides just pitching. He is the tribal leader in the bullpen. Every time we hit a home run, he blows the horn, and you got the pitchers doing the circle dance. So
that thing, yeah, it's
our tribal dance and a bullpen dance for the home run. So, and Murph's the one that blows the horn. So we gotta have our horn blower in the bullpen when we.
He's like a Viking. He's like
right, exactly.
So to wrap it up, Herm out for undisclosed amount of time, but not previously feared all year, and Murphy Brooks probably added to the team in about 8 weeks.
These rumors get you, man. I'm telling you.
That's fine. Hey, we're going to find out if the new guys can pitch early.
We'll find out, man.
Nothing wrong with that.
Now's the time to find out before you get into conference season, right? So, yeah, Doug can argue with this court person about whether or not he's done for the year.
Yeah, y'all argue in the DMs. We'll just keep doing
that
the show
for them. But like you said, if it does turn into just missing some time, be getting into the right space, and I will take that. Let's talk about San Jose State, our first opponent of the season. San Jose State, obviously, Louisiana met with them back when we were I think in the first year we were Louisiana. Back in 2000 in the College World Series, met up with them. We actually beat them to move on to play, I think Clemson, and then we ended up losing to Stanford after mounting a large lead. But look, gritty team back in 2000. Certainly, we know West Coast ball. They're going to play the small ball. You're not going to be outsized, but you could very well be out-conditioned on the bases because they will play the small ball. They will run the bases as well. Have not really done. Look, we've built kind of our culture off of that 2000 College World Series, always wanting to get back. Unfortunately for San Jose State, they've only had 2 regional appearances since then. They lost in 2002 in the Stanford Regional, and then lost again in 2023 was their last appearance. They were a couple of outs short of making the regionals again last year under Coach Sanfilippo. And Josh, I know you had a chance to speak with him, so we're going to get to that interview in a second. But just your overall thoughts on San Jose State coming in. I mean, you obviously can't disrespect your opponent, and they had a losing record last year. But again, they were just out of the regional picture last year. They're certainly going to be coming in front of a big crowd. Out to prove themselves, and I think this will be a worthy opponent. What do you think?
Well, first of all, Brad Sanfilippo was a freaking awesome interview. What a cool guy he was. Very transparent, extremely knowledgeable about the game. And I know you guys are going to really enjoy listening to what he has to say about this program and also his. Look, the fact of the matter is they have 26 new players. So it's a little bit of a guessing game with him. If you want to talk about experience, yeah, they're young and inexperienced. But when I say young, it's not because they had a bunch of freshmen that they added over the offseason. They got a bunch of new guys. They got an influx of JUCO guys. They got an influx of transfers. And, of course, they have their high school additions. But, you know, they're going to try to hit the ball. They're going to – it's again, you mentioned West Coast baseball, action baseball. They're going to put the ball in play. They're going to try to steal bases, like you said. He believes that he's brought in a wealth of pitching. So they're getting out kinks this weekend. This is by no means a rebuild. They've been very competitive over the last 3 years. Coach Flip took that program and it was completely dead. I mean, it needed resuscitation, and he got in there and did that as an assistant. He went to Cal for a year and then came back and they gave him the head job right before COVID. So he's seen the lows, and he's building off of what he started back then. So I got a ton of respect for what he's done. Am I going to sit here and act like they're Dallas Baptist? Do I think they're one of the top non-traditional powers in the game this, in 2025? Of course not. But do I think that they're a worthy opponent that can come into the Teague and beat us? Absolutely. Look, we lost some star power. I mean, let's just be honest. We did. Now, we feel like we have a good core. I feel great about our core, and I love what we've added. We still have some things to figure out. We still have some steps to take. They're not quite as big as they were 2 years ago, but we still have some steps to take. So you underrate an opponent like that that's going to come in here and be an aggressor. Do that at your own peril. I'm certainly not going to sit here and go, yeah, it's a sweep. Dougie's saying they suck. No, they might suck, but here's the thing, dude. They're going to play hard. If you talk to Coach Flip for 2 seconds, you know he's a competitor. He's a gritty, grimy kind of guy. They're going to come in here and they're going to try to score runs. We got to limit that. As far as how, overall with the program, I'm thrilled that another West Coast team is coming to play us. I love playing those types of teams. The UC Irvines, the Santa Claras, and all these, typically we historically had those type of programs come in here and play us. I'm thrilled. I love watching that brand of baseball. I think it's going to make for a very fun opening weekend. You did, Hoss.
Yeah, sorry, I hit the button. But look, I'm not scared to play those types of teams home and home. I know we talk about that in other sports, but hell, I mean, if it means that we return a trip to San Jose State, are you kidding me? I think that's a no-brainer. So I love I love the relationships that Bab has made when scheduling these teams. I think he's still in charge of scheduling. If not, rather, I should say Tib. I know Bab helps out a lot with that too. And in this interview, you'll hear how Tib really got us this series. But again, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to listen to that interview that you did a fantastic job with, Josh. And then when we're done with hearing from Coach Sanfilippo, we'll come back and talk about it and give our thoughts about what we think will happen this weekend.
All right, everybody, we're here with San Jose State Spartans head coach, Coach Brad Sanfilippo. Coach Brad, thanks for joining the pod. We love having these opportunities to talk to the head coach of other teams, especially when they're invading Cajun Field for the first time. This is going to be the first time we ever play. So this is a little bit of a new category for us, a little bit of uncharted waters for Ragin Review and the Ragin Cajun baseball program. So welcome, and thanks for taking the time.
Hey, I appreciate you guys having me and making time. We're really excited about the trip. And obviously just, not only, opening day and opening weekend and, getting this thing kicked off, but, we're excited to get down to a passionate fan base and compete against the program that, we have nothing but respect for and what Coach Deggs has done. And obviously, the history of Ragin Cajun baseball and, what they've done in the past and obviously their present success. We're looking forward to that environment. And obviously we know that our hands will be full.
Yeah. So you and I had the opportunity to kind of talk a little bit before we started recording, and you mentioned your relationship with Coach Seth Thibodeau and you guys playing sometimes in the recent past. So kind of on that note, our two programs haven't seen each other since 2000, and that's interesting because it's the only times we've played, and it happened to be in Omaha. So did scheduling this game in 2025 to open up Russo Park at Teague Moore Field, did that come out of that relationship from Coach Tibb, or did somebody reach out to you from the program to kind of rekindle that 25th year anniversary game, or how did that process take place?
Yeah, I wish I could say that we were trying for the historical significance of the 25-year reunion of obviously both programs being in Omaha, but a little bit more of a relationship with Coach Thibodeau when he was a head coach at Nichols, and I was an assistant at San Jose State. They came out west, and we played, and Seth and I developed a little bit of a relationship, and then when I took over in 2018. We went down to Nichols and we played and had a weekend down there. And so, Coach and I have just kind of developed a little bit of a friendship, and we follow each other. We text each other, talking whatever, baseball, family life, all that kind of stuff, wishing each other well. So certainly keeping tabs on him, and, had an opportunity to talk to Coach Deggs the other day, and just a great conversation, and, just, good people in this world you like going to compete against. And so, the scheduling of this was a little bit more due to our friendship and trying to compete against each other and do this again as we've done a little bit in the past. But the historical significance of getting an opportunity for these two teams 25 years later to compete is pretty cool. So I'm glad the stars aligned for this to happen.
I hope our marketing teams don't miss a golden opportunity to bring back some old footage from that magical season. That was fantastic. So sometimes we kind of get ragged on around here for living in the past. One trip to Omaha can change a program forever. So I'm curious, does San Jose State kind of get the same rep that you guys, or you took over in 2018, and I know you were there as an assistant before. Do you still hear the echoes of people saying, oh, hey, that 2000 season is that's our ceiling, that's where we want to be? What's it like with the history of San Jose State and their baseball program and your fans? Do you get extra buy-in just because of that one particular season?
For sure. I mean, when there's plenty of programs that have never been to Omaha, and I think that when you're recruiting or when you're engaging alum, there is always that you that history that you can call upon. Coach Ferraro was a coach back then who built a successful program at San Jose State that was consistently a really, really competitive power on the West Coast and all that time. And I know that's a source of pride for our alumni. And, when we won the Mountain West Championship a couple years ago, they sent us to the Stanford Regional, which is, 15 minutes up the road. And, I remember that first game that we played Stanford. I feel like we had probably more fans than they did in that first game. I think that, they may felt like they were in it to get to Omaha that year. And obviously, we were there to try to win it as well. But just the excitement around getting back into the postseason, it had been some time. And a lot of those guys that were on the 2000 team, they are certainly supportive of our program, and not only the past of our program, but the fact that they take a lot of pride in this program. And again, Omaha is something, whether it was 25 years ago or 5 years ago, it's an important milestone. I think of a program just to show what is possible, and you want that hope to believe that is possible. And that's why you're trying to compete at the highest level. And so, our alumni take a lot of pride in that and what was built here in the past. And our guys that we've had here in the last 8 years, we talk about it. We talk about that team and we talk about that success and obviously what our goals are. Our goals are to compete nationally and obviously to compete at the highest level of our conference. So it's important. And I'm glad that this series is bringing up that history for both programs, and a cool little college baseball little note there, I think.
I agree. I think it's great just to relive the history of both programs and get the fan bases thinking in that way. I do want to spend a little bit of time on the history of the program and maybe your experience coming back. It looks like when you became an assistant, San Jose State baseball was almost flat on its back. I think at one point in 2011, maybe 2012, it had won 6 games. And then obviously you have the challenges of COVID a little bit later on as you took over as the head coach. I know you had a stop at Cal Berkeley in between those two stints with San Jose State. Curious, as your development kind of progressed as an assistant, then moving on to Cal and then coming back to San Jose State, what has it been like to be on the forefront of rebuilding San Jose State baseball back to a competitive program and pushing forward as you move into the mid 2020s?
Yeah, obviously, I think you start with a program that has had a lot of success, right? A program that went to Omaha, a program that had made some regionals, and a prideful alumni, historical coach, and coaches and players that went through here. So like you have that base, and falling on maybe some hard times there, having an opportunity to I guess, rebuild or get this program back to where you believe it should be at a level of prominence on the West Coast. Something I was really passionate about. I grew up in this area. My dad went to San Jose State. It's an area in which I have a lot of passion for. And so you've got to be able to, I think, get a group of players that you are that you're selling your vision for what this can be. I was fortunate to be on a Cal staff with really good coaches. Coach Esker, who's the head coach at Stanford now. We had a 2011 run in which we went to the College World Series. And so obviously I feel super fortunate that I was around a program in 11 that went to a College World Series. In 2015, we played in a regional final at Texas A&M. And so, those experiences around those players, and then, just being around great players, being around great coaches, and trying to obviously build a program here in the same way, at a program that historically, when Coach Peral was here, they won 30 plus games, every year. And way back when, competing in the Big West with the Long Beaches and the Fullertons of the world. And, obviously conference alignments and all those things have changed with football and everything over time. So this was really an opportunity for me that I was really obviously grateful to have. But it was not without its challenges. For sure. Yeah, it was not without its challenges. As you said, it had been struggling, and even when I took over 2 weeks before the season started in 2018, and so it was an opportunity to take over a program and a bunch of kids that I had recruited, but I had not coached. And so, to have the level of success that we had that year, and to the success we had in the Mountain West tournament that year, to be able to be named the full-time head coach, and, to really then start the recruiting process and really start to build the right type of guys that we wanted here. It's, 8 years doesn't seem like a long time, but when you go back through, just kind of some of the things that happen along the way, it's, again, we've been in the Mountain West Championship game the last 3 years. In 2022, we played Air Force and Paul Skeens, a really competitive rivalry that we had with Coach Kaz and Air Force. In 23, we went back to the Mountain West Championship, and we were able to beat Air Force that year. And then, last year, obviously, from what we were predicted to do with a lot of returners and things, a touch maybe on the overall record of a little bit of it. Took us a while to kind of figure it out. But, we were 7 outs away from going to back-to-back regionals last year, to Fresno State. We had a lead. We had a lead late to go to another regional. Obviously, I lose sleep over that. But, we've been in a really competitive state here, which I'm really proud of. The commitment of the players that we had in this program to this program. And now that's sort of starting over again. So, can we build it again? Can we rebuild it? And how do we do that in today's kind of landscape of the way that things go? So that's where we are currently right now.
Coach, y'all won the Mountain West in 2023 and are obviously looking forward to getting back and winning the tournament again. What's it going to take for you guys to advance in the Mountain West, and how difficult of a conference is it?
The Mountain West is a really challenging conference. Not only from the standpoint, you got teams like I don't want to leave anybody out, but geez, Air Force has been really competitive the last few years. San Diego State historically has been really good. You talk about the teams that Coach Birmingham built at New Mexico for years. It's a really difficult place to play, and it's very offensive. Nevada won the conference for years, and UNLV is, it's a very competitive conference, but it also plays very differently. You play in places like Albuquerque or Reno or Colorado Springs, and some of those yards are very offensive. And so, you look sometimes at the ERAs in the Mountain West Conference, and they can be a little elevated. And so, you need to figure out the combination of pitching and offense to compete at different places. As we got 26 new guys on this roster. We really spent quite a bit of time in the summer trying to add as much pitching depth as we could, which probably held us back from our second consecutive from our back-to-back regional appearances last year. Maybe a little bit of the depth on the mound. You get into a tournament run, and you get probably a little bit further into that bullpen, and so I think offensively, we've been very capable in the last few years, and I think we spent a lot of time in the summer as we were having to rebuild this roster a little bit, hopefully in terms of the depth on the mound and the bullpen piece that we feel like hopefully will give us an opportunity to compete in this conference.
We always do research before we do these interviews, and I saw that Fresno State was picked to win the Mountain West Conference, and it made me think, I wonder what Coach Flip thinks about preseason polls, especially the writers. So what do head coaches typically think about those preseason things? Feel free to be authentic here.
Preseason poll is just a lot of guessing and looking at numbers and statistics, and we got picked. What poll did we not get picked to finish last in? So that's fine. The flip side of that is we were picked to finish first last year. So, in 2022, when we played Air Force in the final of the Mountain West Championship, we were picked to finish last that year. So, we were coming off a 6-30 season with COVID that, everyone's like, I can't believe you guys had an amazing year. We won 30 games. And, but with COVID in Santa Clara County, just the context of that was, you need a little bit of context to understand that year, right? In terms of what it was like to try to operate in Santa Clara County. The 49ers had to relocate to Arizona. The San Jose Sharks had to relocate to Arizona. Our football team had to relocate to Vegas. And so, our basketball teams had to relocate. It just, that contextually didn't exactly tell the whole story. What told the whole story was in 23 when we won the Mountain West Championship, it was built of most of the guys that were on the 6-30 team, right? Like they had an opportunity to leave. They could have gotten in the transfer portal after going 6-30, but they all stayed because they believed in what it was, that we had done and what we were building here. And so, that team was picked to finish last and, eventually won a Mountain West Championship. This year we're picked to finish last, and I get it. We got 26 new guys and there's not a whole lot of information. I'm probably as in the camp of wondering what this season is going to be like as you are somebody, trying to write a preseason poll about San Jose State is. I also am wondering how this is going to play out. But at the same time, I've got confidence in this group. I've seen them work. We were very competitive in the fall against Stanford and San Francisco. I believe that we can be competitive. But again, when the lights turn on and you start, you start competing in a day in and day out basis, I won't be able to tell you that. But I don't put a whole lot of stock in a preseason poll. So if that's a long way about going to say that we're picked to finish last everywhere. And does that really bother me? No, it doesn't really bother me.
That's a really nice way of saying what you just said. But you did mention, attrition and things like that. Now, I know you had a big stick in the middle of your lineup in Mr. Duro that went. He's going to start his professional journey and get paid to play. And I watched a lot of his ball, and I was really impressed. The guy's a good hitter. I was really impressed with his plate discipline, actually. Anyway, I don't want to get too nerdy, but what's your roster buy-in been like? Do you have, baseball is a little bit of a different animal where there's not typically mass exodus after seasons like you see in football and basketball. But as far as the guys that chose to be Spartans, do you typically see a decent turnover? Do you see, most of your roster that you expect to coming back? Are kids being constantly contacted? What's been your experience with that?
I would just say we've been really fortunate. We've been really fortunate in the guys that have been committed to this program. You look at the Hunter DeRoes. We did get Hunter DeRoe in the transfer portal. From a local school that we were, and Hunter DeRoe, an amazing kid. He was a high school quarterback and had all the intangibles of just being a good kid, and the leadership qualities and all the things that you look for in giving somebody a second opportunity. Charles McAdoo, was a high school kid that we developed who, I think he's on his way to the big leagues. And, Theo Hardy was our shortstop, and he was a high school kid that we had, a local high school kid. And all those kids, I believe, had an opportunity to leave at one point in time. And I just think that they were enjoying their experience together, competing together and doing this thing here. And, they didn't, I don't even think of looking outside to going somewhere else. Now, do I think that's going to be the case always? No, I don't. I don't think in today's day that's probably what you're going to have. We were very fortunate that I feel like we had a good coaching staff and players that were happy here, that were committed to it. And we haven't lost a ton of guys in the portal, and we've actually gone out in the portal. And I feel like we've looked for the right guys that are looking for just an opportunity, guys that are not better than this place. Again, mid-major schools have challenges. We have our challenges. But I think when you're recruiting the right guys that are looking for the right opportunity, guys that are looking just to play or be part of a winner or be part of something greater than themselves, and just have a coaching staff that, genuinely cares about their development and enjoying the process, not only of winning baseball games, but just enjoy, the experience of college baseball. So we've been fortunate to this point in terms of keeping a lot of guys on our roster. We graduated a lot of guys. And so that is why and where we are with 26 new guys this year. But we do have enough, I think, bridge guys, older guys that have been here for 5 years or 4 years that have been part of, the previous culture and understand what it's about and why we've been successful. So hopefully we can continue a little of that continuity from the past guys that have moved on to even some of the new guys that are transfer portal guys or JC guys or, high school guys that have come in, that we can have some, continuity of that culture.
Who are some of the guys that you bring back, or some of the newer guys that you expect to produce right away? And who are some guys that Cajun fans should look out for?
Yeah, I think our center fielder Jariah Lewis has been here with us. He's had opportunities in and out of our lineup. Again, we've been pretty experienced and had some pretty good players that he's platooned at times. But he's really a dynamic athlete, and he's just really just a fun player to watch, and it really has a lot of potential to be not only a good college baseball player, but beyond with his athleticism. And then a little bit of our pitching staff, Jesse Gutierrez, left-handed pitcher from Santa Clara, California, was probably our best arm last year. Pitched out of the bullpen, 21 appearances, 3.47 ERA, and was just lights out in the tournament. He pitched two games in the tournament that really, propelled us into that championship game and championship series with Fresno State. Nolan George made 17 appearances last year, right-hander. He was a transfer from UNLV, and he's given us some consistency in terms of what he's brought to the table. Joey Camarada is, again, returning for his, his senior year. And so, our experience comes a little bit more from the pitching side of things, which is a little different for us. It's been on the positions player side of things that we had been, leaning heavily upon for our leadership. And I think it's flipped a little bit now where, our pitchers are the guys that are returning with the experience that have been here a little bit. And so From the position player side of things, I think Jariah is the one that has been here, who's a dynamic athlete that we can count on a little bit. But we went out and got a kid, Zach Chamizo, left-handed hitter. He was just a baseball player. He could play left field. He played third base. I saw him, with some gear on, throwing down to second the other day. Just, hey, coach, just so I can do it, just so you know. And so we needed an experienced presence in our lineup. We had lost so much of that, and I don't think you can turn that over to freshmen or even, expect JC guys to make that leap where you're counting on them to be the guys. But he had 300 in the Big West, which is a heavy pitching conference with Santa Barbara and Fullerton and Long Beach and Cal Poly. And so, we brought him in to be a steadying, ship on the offensive side of things. And then, Rocco Caballero from Golden West Junior College down in Southern California, just kind of needed to replace a kid that we had at shortstop for some time. And knowing that is such an important spot on the field, Rocco's a tough kid that will provide us some energy, in the middle of the diamond that we need. So, I'd say those two new guys in Chamizo and Rocco, those guys are guys that we're going to lean on. And Jariah Lewis as a returner playing center field is somebody that I think, has the potential to be just a really, really good player.
As we know, and you've mentioned this a couple times, it all starts on the bump. So I have to ask, we're all excited about baseball, opening day Friday. Have you set your rotation for the weekend?
Yeah, we will go Jesse Gutierrez on Friday. We will start right-handed transfer from St. Mary's College, David Thomas on Saturday. And then on Sunday, we have a North Carolina State transfer, Wynn Scott, who will pitch on Sunday. And so that's the rotation this weekend. And, we're excited to be able to feel good going into the weekend that's who we're going to hand the ball to. And then, we do feel like we do have some depth out there where we're going to hand the ball to some different guys and hopefully have some success. And then we'll see this weekend for sure.
Sure. And we kind of talked about this too. Different regions of the country play their brand of ball. And we can go into all the intricacies of that, but West Coast baseball is a brand of itself. I mean, we all hear that down in the South, and everybody has their own idea of what West Coast baseball is. So when we get a West Coast guy on, I got to ask, when you hear West Coast baseball, what do you mean? What does that mean to you when you hear that?
I think, you think back to the Augie Garrido teams and the Fullertons and the 70s and 80s. And, I just a lot more, probably small ball type things that you're relying on. I think back to a Cal weekend when you're playing UCLA, joking with some of our guys, right? Like, you got Garrett Cole on a Friday, and then you got Trevor Bauer on a Saturday, and then Rasmussen, the left-hander, on Sunday. Probably the best of all of them, right? Like if you get a runner on at some point in time, you might be bunting him to second base to hope that you can get a hit at some point in time and win a baseball game 2-1, right? So, when I first took over in 2018, we were definitely built way more West Coast in terms of hit and run and safety or suicide squeeze or willing to take some chances from the short game side of things. Probably a little bit more quote unquote West Coast baseball. As I looked around the Mountain West and realized going on the road where we beat UNLV with like 17 singles one Saturday. I just felt like we had to be built a little bit different. We had to go on the road and be able to double and homer to keep up offensively. And so, I feel like we built a little bit more of a physical roster for the next little run in which, we set the San Jose State record for home runs. And we were certainly more physical for our championship and our run there a little bit. But again, that's based on personnel. If you were to ask me now, I would say, we're going to probably have to be a little bit more West Coast as we move forward here. We're not going to be as physical, I don't think, as we move forward. But that's as much of a question of me and our personality and personnel as we move into this thing and trying to see what we're going to be like. and again, right, like that's based on personnel and recruiting and what your roster looks like at any given time. We have been a little bit more physical in design the past 4 or 5 years, but as we move forward, I'm not sure that's what our personnel will dictate this year.
Coach, college baseball fans in the South are rabid, especially Louisiana fans. How do you prepare your team for a trip to a venue like the Teague?
Yeah, I don't know that we can, especially we just can't. Like we can't. There's nothing that we can do to simulate what it's going to be like. We can talk about it. We can talk about it all we want, and we can certainly tell our guys what they can expect and going in there, and we can just be excited to embrace the environment that it's going to be. If you want to play games in college baseball at the highest level, which to me means whether it's a conference tournament or I don't think we're hosting a regional. That means you're going to go on the road, and you're going to have to go on the road, and you're going to have to win on the road in a hostile environment. And again, I think that's the best of college baseball. And so, when I'm watching, postseason baseball in the South and Louisiana and wherever it is, like I think it's unbelievably cool to have fan bases that are passionate about their programs that way. It's just not really the way it is, out West. And we have a passionate, fan base and alumni group that we are very proud and fortunate to have. But again, I know that what we are going to is an environment that will be really good for these JC guys. It'll be really good for these freshmen. It'll be really good for our guys to go into a place like this and have to compete against not only the environment, right, but compete against a program that has been in the postseason and been really, really good and is really well coached with really good players. So, I think more so than, we were talking about how does a series like this happen, I think it's even more, for me, it's an opportunity knowing that you're going to have a lot of new players, an opportunity to get to a place to show your players what college baseball is really like at the highest level. Like, this is what it's like at the highest level. You better figure it out. So, I can't prepare our guys for this. I can't, but I can just tell them that it's going to be tough. Not only in terms of the environment, but, the team we're going to play. And again, we're excited for the challenge. We are excited that this is what we get to go playing for the first weekend. And again, this is our goal. Our goal is to play meaningful games at the end of the year in places that care about baseball. And so this, I see this as a really good opportunity for us to go enjoy the experience.
One way or another, it's going to be fun for somebody. You got to look at it as it's just going to be fun. So I'm curious, aside from the Cajuns in the stands, you're going to have to prepare for a pretty good ball club, what we think is a pretty good ball club that'll be on the field. What does the scouting report look like from the visitors' dugout? Do you see some opportunities to exploit some weaknesses? And do you see some difficulties for your club with what we have to present to you as the challenge? What are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I think at this time of year, especially with our roster and where we are as a coaching staff, is just way more about us than it is about, about Coach Deggs' team. I just obviously, the scouting report and knowing they've got some experienced guys back that have played in regionals and, pitched in regionals. And we understand that experience is probably greater than what we have on our roster, in terms of, all conference players or pitchers and having that regional experience and being able to watch films on those things. But, for us right now, this is just way more about us and, how are we going to compete at the highest level? How are we going to compete against good players and good programs? What is going to be the calling card of our success? And so just with so many new guys, just really heavily focused on, what is our best opportunity to win? How are we going to go do that? And obviously, we'll probably say the same things that they're saying. We need to pitch and play defense, and we need to, situationally take advantage of opportunities that present themselves. And so, I know that it will be a challenge in terms of, their roster and pitching staff, and looking at their lineup and the guys that they return. Also knowing they've got some, a couple portal guys that they brought in that they feel are talented, and so we're trying to simplify our approach in terms of going into the weekend. Figuring out our personnel and learning as much as we can about our team as we move forward. So, I'm sure like them, we're trying to win Friday night, and we'll take it from there.
Simple game, just not easy, right?
No, that's not easy.
Okay, last one, we'll get you out of here, all right? You touched down in Lafayette, and I'm assuming because you know Seth, you have a little bit of knowledge of the Cajun culture and the Cajun food. What's the first thing that you personally are going to eat?
Geez, I don't know. My dad's side of the family, my Nana, her family came into New Orleans, in the port of New Orleans, and my dad's mom was born in Baton Rouge. So I would not claim to have Louisiana ties or anything like that, but a little muffaletta would be good. Maybe some jambalaya or gumbo. I'd be good with any of it. I'm excited about the food. I'm excited, hopefully Seth will point me in the right direction for where I'm going. But, any opportunity to eat cuisine such as that, I'm fired up to get down there and just experience, Cajun culture and the awesome. I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I get gumbo, jambalaya? Where am I going? Where are you guys going?
Oh, look, you're going to extend the episode by an hour and a half if you start asking those questions.
Fine. I'm good with that.
But look, I tell you this, and I don't know if you're familiar with this, but the Cajun Cooking Club feeds the away teams after every game. So it's probably some of the best food you're going to have while you're down here, especially for free. So be on the lookout for that.
Okay. No, we've talked a little bit, and so obviously we're excited about that. But yeah, I'm excited for all of it. I'm sure it'll be an experience that hopefully we will enjoy, from the food to just the ballpark to all of it. So we're looking forward to getting down there for sure.
Well, Coach Flip, we wish you all the best after February 17th. Hope you have a great season. Obviously, we're hoping for a sweep, but if we run into you at the ballpark, please let's say hello. And seriously, it's been a fun interview. We appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate your guys' time and taking the time for the Spartans. And yeah, please come say hello. Let's catch up when we get down there. I'd love to say hi. And we're looking forward to getting down there.
Baseball time. Can't wait. Thanks again.
Man, what a great interview, Josh. Thank you and Lane for stepping in and getting that done today. I mean, Josh, and I'm not going to speak on your behalf because I've done interviews with coaches before, but isn't it just so hard to hate your opponent when the other coach is just such a good dude?
Well, every time I talk to a guy like that, I always, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, would I play for this guy? I would 100% play for Coach Flip.
Totally. By the way, did you make that up, Coach Flip?
No, that's what the kids call him. Okay. And I wanted to make that clear because sometimes those little things evolve in the middle of a unit. I got to talk to him a little bit before we got on the recording. So, what you saw there was, it was super authentic, don't get me wrong, but it was good to talk to him a little bit, 10 minutes or so, and super genuine guy. He's coming here and he really is excited. I know he said it over and over, but they are fired up to come down to Lafayette. So, but just to kind of get it back to the nuts and bolts of the interview for a second, I want you guys to remember Jesse Gutierrez. All right. He's the guy that's going to start Friday. That's who Coach Flip said. He had a career year last year. They recruited him as a bullpen guy. He came on the scene. He was an all Mountain West Conference performer in the tournament in 2024. Big strikeout guy. In 2023, when he was coming out of the pen, he averaged almost a K an inning. So high on the Ks per nine. He's going to present a challenge, especially in a short stint. He's a high energy guy. So that pitching matchup with Simo is going to be really fun. And I think we're going to find out a little bit about our guy, but I think we're going to find out a lot about Jesse Gutierrez as well. And then on Sunday, all right, I'm not skipping out on McGehee for any particular reason. I still think he's a wild card. I'm not 100% sure. But I like the matchup between the guy they're going to start on Sunday and Dilhoff because they're both 4-pitch mix guys. So we're going to see a lot of different pitches. We're going to see a lot of, Dilhoff has a big hammer curve. He throws like a 76-mile-an-hour curve that just bends out of zone. And I think his out pitch is the slider. From what I can tell, everything I've seen, strikeout pitch is the slider. So that's going to be almost a mirror image of what they're going to go with on Sunday. That could be a very important game, obviously, because if it's a rubber situation, we want to win the series, and we're going to be counting on a new guy to do that. So I think those two things really, really become topics of conversations. But there's a lot that can happen in between. There's so many small stories within the game that you can focus on, especially coming out of that interview. But notice he didn't really talk about hitting. He talked about pitching and defense. They're going to try to beat us with pitching and defense. So everybody should be aware of that.
Yeah, and it's like when you're saying so many little intricacies of the game. I mean, if you have never heard two men talk about baseball as specifically as you have with Justin Morgan back in the day and Coach Robe. You sat there, I think we were at a Braves game one time on a road trip, and listening to those two guys talk strategy was ridiculous. Kind of, Coach Flip, as you call him, kind of sounds the same way. Like he's a very strategic guy. And like you said, he didn't talk a whole lot about offense, but he did mention he's trying to get a little bit away from the small ball thing, and he's recruiting some bigger guys to try to, compete with the teams outside of the West Coast, because if he gets into regional, he can't small ball it through a regional. He's going to have some power hitting, up the gap or get a homer or two to kind of, change momentum there. So that was interesting to hear as well. He didn't focus on it, but I did notice he did mention that. A couple of other takeaways I took from that Section A and Cooking Club. You guys have to step up for us this weekend. I mean, we got to get the guys some boudin. Obviously, Cooking Club's going to do their thing, not worried about it, but I think Section A, hey, give him hell. But let's get the man some boudin, maybe some king cake after the game. And then just his utmost respect for UL. You got to appreciate, again, it's hard when you interview coaches like that. They're such nice guys, such good dudes. They do it the right way. And I really think Coach is doing it the right way. And by the way, got to say shout out to the administration and the sports information director at San Jose State who made this happen. I mean, typically we'll get, either silence or we'll get an assistant coach coming on. To get the head guy, I mean, that's freaking huge.
SID super professional out there on the West Coast. Just want to say shout out. Also, something that he didn't say there is something that was part of our conversation before that. The way that he and Seth Thibodeau became friends, and it's because somehow or another, Nichols got San Jose State to travel to Thibodeau, and he said, man, it was a whale of a series. It was hot. It was brutal. Nichols beat the piss out of him for a good couple games, and they just forged a friendship over that. So that's kind of how that whole 25th anniversary thing was a complete coincidence, which I find crazy. But yeah, they went down to Thibodeau and got their ass beat. So him and Seth became friends. That's just
man. But the college baseball coaching world is so small. I mean, it's
true.
It's a fraternity. All those guys know each other. I mean, when I heard Schlossnagel, his name, I was like, holy crap, wasn't he at Northwestern? Like, Robe knew him. He came to the office one day. I remember meeting the guy. And then all of a sudden, he's a big time coach. So it's just such a small world, but it's good stuff. Jerry, final thoughts on the interview and baseball, and we'll move on.
I wanted to add to it. First of all, guys, great job on the interview. To be able to get a head coach from another team to come and speak with us and give his full insight. I mean, Coach Flip was completely transparent. He seemed very laid back. And like you said, Josh, I'd love to play for a guy like that. He seems like he is a player's coach. He seems like someone who gets it. And looking back at San Jose State's history from around 2010 to when he took the job, to see what he's done with that program in 6 or 7 years, they were averaging maybe 15, 16 wins out of 56 for like a good 6 or 7 year run. He takes over, and outside of that 1-6-win season that he talked about in 2021, he's gone from 16 or 17 wins to 30, 31 wins, and he had his team in a regional in 23 and was a few runs away from going to another regional in 24. So he's done a fantastic job resurrecting that program. And look, I don't ever take teams for granted, whether they come to the Teague, whatever their record is. College baseball is a funny sport. You just can't take them for granted. I know they're going to come in with a lot of energy. They're going to come in ready to play. So we got to be on our P's and Q's if we want to take this series and take care of business. But I did want to say about the coaching fraternity, Nick, it's funny you mentioned that, because Coach John Sheff, it was kind of like that. Remember, they had this, it was like a Louisiana Classic type tournament. I think in 2004, he coached at Marist, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it wasn't. It was
2000, the regional.
It was the regional.
The regional.
That is
Yeah, I'm
correct.
sorry.
Yes.
Marist. And I think he and Coach Rowe formed a relationship. He said, "Hey, do you want to come be our hitting coach?" And the rest was history. So it is funny you mentioned that, because in baseball, there's a lot more transparency between coaches, I find, compared to football, basketball, and the other sports. With baseball, there's more of I feel like there's more personal relationships because of the scheduling, because of just, there's so many games, and they all go to the same baseball camps and all this other stuff. I feel like baseball, there's a lot more transparency within the coaching world. So no, it's really cool that Coach Flip and Coach Tip formed that relationship. I see why they get along so well, because they're so much alike. They're very personable. So no, great interview, guys. Job well done.
Off topic, but Coach Chef's kids actually grew up. Well, I mean, I guess they were babies in my crib. Coaching, assistant coaching in college baseball in the day didn't get that much money. So the crib I was a baby in, his kids were babies in growing up. So I think that's pretty cool. Lane, final thoughts on the interview, then we'll move on.
Yeah, I appreciate their baseball SID reaching back out to us to help set that up. And he was coach was really knowledgeable about his team and even Cajun country and the food and all that. I appreciate his insight that he had throughout the whole interview.
Now, he did say muffalata. We'll give him a pass on that. But he did follow that up by saying gumbo, right?
Yeah.
He did say gumbo. Doesn't know what boudin is, maybe, but we gotta change that this weekend, man.
Yeah, we'll change that.
Before we move on from baseball, one last thing. How do you know you're getting old? Well, first of all, when you see the first gray hair, you know you're getting old. But just got an ad on Twitter, or a follow, from a player that I was involved with the program with back in 2000. A player's son, Buddy Yen's son, just added me on X, and I'm like, holy crap! I am getting old when players' kids are adding me, and he's a high school pitcher. He's going to be a Cajun one day. I have full faith. I mean, his dad pitches just like his dad and has the same mechanics as his dad, for better or worse. So maybe seeing a young Yen coming to the Teague in the very near future. Let's turn it over to softball opening weekend, guys. I know didn't get off to the best start. Cajuns going 0-2, especially that first game against Seton Hall. We lost 4-2 there. Got run ruled by Texas, which you kind of had. I mean, in my heart, I figured Texas was going to be an L because we're so young and new and trying to put it together. So best hope was 4-1 this weekend. We went 3-2. I think we might have, even though we said don't push the panic button, might have pushed the panic button a little too early, but to go 3-2 after what happened on Friday night and then into Saturday, I think was a pretty good result. We'll start with you, Jerry. Thoughts from the opening weekend for softball?
Yeah, I was a little. I mean, it sucked to see us drop the first two, especially to Seton Hall in the first game, because we really didn't get on base till like later in the 6th or 7th innings. I mean, we only had like 3 hits up until I think the 7th inning or 6th inning, and then we got a few players in scoring position and just couldn't close it out. The Texas game, I wasn't surprised. As much as I hate to admit it, I just knew. I said, okay, this is the number 1 team. We pretty much have a brand new team for the most part, and the score itself was just kind of reflective on the youth and how we just had to kind of it's still going to take some time for this team to develop. But I tell you, the way they kicked the door down on Saturday, Lane, I know you were at some of the games. I had the chance to go to the second Seton Hall match on Saturday. And I mean, this team just responded with a vengeance. And in the last 3 games, our last 3 wins, we went from getting outscored. I think it was like, what was it? We lost to Seton Hall 4-2. I think it was like 12-2 in the first 2 games to outscoring our opponents in the last 3, 26-3. So it was good to see. I tell you what I was more impressed with. I was more impressed with the newcomers, and especially those who, we're not as familiar with. For example, Emily Smith, a freshman who is now like our power hitter in the lineup, and seeing, our girls not only get runs, but get on base and not necessarily hit with power, but get key base hits, get timely hits, bring in 2 runs at a time. To me, that's going to be our bread and butter this year. I don't see as much power in the lineup as much as I do girls that can get on base. And that's where we're going to be good. And I think as long as that continues, when you start playing some better opponents as the season goes on, I think we're going to be fine. I like the fact that we saw some younger pitching. Obviously, they weren't really hitting their mark the first 2 games. The last 2, you gave up 3 runs in 3 games, 1 run per game. What more could you ask for? Granted, George Mason, Longwood, and Seton Hall aren't the best opponents, but for a team that's trying to develop and find their identity, I think that's what the doctor ordered. Because look, this weekend they have Ole Miss coming to town. There's going to be more challenges. I think they play I forgot, Nick. I don't see the schedule in front of me, but I know they have.
I think 5 games. Yeah,
5 games. 5 games. Yeah. And then the following week, they play another SEC team, if I'm not mistaken, or somebody in the Big 12, or it was one of the bigger schools. So, look, they're going to be challenged. I like the fact that they're going to be challenged. And as long as they do what they did the last 3 games, even against a team like Ole Miss, I think they're going to be more competitive than what we saw against Texas on Friday night. So, look, Coach Allison Habits and her staff, they're going to figure it out. These girls obviously showed that they didn't quit after the first 2 games. They got the job done. And, again, they kicked the door down. And, you start the season 0-2, you're 3-2. Let's just see what happens. I think this team has a lot of upside.
Josh, you said specifically you want to talk about softball, so I'll give you the floor now. Your thoughts on the weekend and what you saw out at Lamson Park.
I'm going to yield my time to Lane first because I think what I'm going to say might spark some conversation. So,
all right, Lane. Hey,
I yield to the gentleman.
Let's go. Yields for the gentleman.
He's going full Parliament on us, man.
Yeah. All right.
So
the gentleman from North Louisiana has the floor.
So speaking of Jerry's point, we are going to get tested this weekend. They have 2 games against Ole Miss, sandwiched with Northern Illinois, Central Arkansas, and Sam Houston. But I didn't really hit the panic button the first game. I mean, I kind of was like, what's happening? But at the same time, I was like, there's a brand new team, brand new coaching staff with a lot of young talent. And I was like, something's got to click eventually. It clicked a little later in the game and probably too late for a win to happen. But the third through 5th games of the weekend, I mean, we played like we've known to play the last several years. I did listen to the interview with Coach Habits that she had, I believe, yesterday with the media. And she mentioned that they had to focus on small ball this weekend and trying to get the bunt down and executing it right. But I didn't see where the Cajuns pitcher Tyra Clary got injured. But on Sunday, she had her knee wrapped and on crutches. Coach Abbott said that she did see a doctor today, so they should have more news in the next couple of days probably. But let's hope it's not anything serious because they would be down to 3 pitchers.
That's what I was going to say. Down 3 pitchers because it would be Clary, it would be Lexi Delbury, and then Sage Hoover all out. I mean, how do you recover from that in the first weekend of the season?
It would be hard.
Tough. Yeah.
But yeah,
especially what we saw the first weekend with so many walks,
Yeah.
You need that depth of pitcher. So,
but we'll see this weekend. I mean, their schedule is kind of like baseball, where early on they play a lot of good teams, a lot of teams from the SEC, Big 12. So we'll see how they perform moving forward. But it was good to see them get 3 wins in a row under the belt. And Coach Habits made a point to talk about the fan base and how much she appreciated them appreciating her and coming back home. And every time she would turn around, somebody to say that thank you for coming back and that she's glad to be here.
She made the right decision. So we're just confirming that, right? Josh, I'll let you wrap it up. Your thoughts?
If we're going to start with pitching, I mean, you have to be encouraged by how the young pitchers responded. I mean, what Wheeler did against a very good hitting team to cap the tournament was really impressive. Losing to Seton Hall in a lot of ways, probably a blessing in disguise. Regardless of if we all know it's a rebuild, an influx of new players, a new coach, people still have expectations. Most fans are not that nuanced. They look and say, oh, Habits was at Alabama and Sinceri is an accomplished player and coach. They just expect to win. And that's the other thing about winning. Winning can also become stale, right? I know that's not really a popular opinion, but it's true. We expect to win this, that, and the other all the time. Well, that's stale. I'm actually more interested in this season than I've probably ever been in a softball season. And I think there's a lot of layers to that, but I think losing to Seton Hall maybe might have woken some people up a little bit. Like, yeah, this is a whole new regime. This is a whole new softball program. I mean, it is. And, we look at Seton Hall and we say, who the hell is Seton Hall? Seton Hall is not a pushover school. I think they were in a regional 2 years ago. You can check that, but I'm pretty sure they were.
I thought 23. They were in 23. I had said last year, but it was 23. They were in the regional tournament. So yeah.
Right. They've got some players. I mean, they didn't have a bunch of scrubs out there. So do I think we played well? No, we gave them way too much. Do I think that they showed up and rolled over? No, I think they deserved to win the game. I was mostly disappointed in our offense production. Yeah, you don't want to give away freebies, and there was a couple of errors mixed in there, and that hurts. But we got to execute at the plate. And Lane, I didn't know that we had I didn't know there was a particular game plan going in that it was supposed to be an emphasis on small ball. It was obvious after, watching them a couple of times, but, games 1 and 2, I didn't know that. But I like that. I think that travels more than relying on power. So if we're going to play small ball, I'm all in. But speaking of the offense, you got to shout out to Maddie Hayden. She was out there being the superstar she was supposed to be. Which she hit 600 this week. Yeah, I mean, it was ridiculous. She was on base. I mean, she had quality at bat after quality at bat. And look, she's not hitting lasers in the gap every single time. She's manufacturing her way on base, and that is your prototypical leadoff. You got to have that. Falterman had a nice weekend after a slow start. You don't have to be a softball aficionado to look at Emily Smith and say that's a superstar. I mean, we can literally start thinking about right now after watching her play 4 or 5 games, is she going to be here next year? I mean, that's how good she is. When's the last time we had a true freshman walk up to the dish and have that amount of plate presence? I mean, it's not just her power.
Her first at bat.
Well, yeah, but it's just not just her power. It's her pitch selection. It's her plate discipline. I mean, she's a bona fide slugger. This thing could get out of hand. She's really, really good. There's no question that she belongs in the 3 or 4 hole. Nobody can question Allie after that. That was a no-brainer for her. It's obvious. But, I want to see some of the young kids come along. I'm really encouraged by the defense. I know they made some errors, and even in the second Seton Hall game, there was some kind of tough luck errors, and they should have made the play, but there were some hard hit balls in the middle of the field at third and short too. But man, the arm strength for 24 at third base. Good God. When's the last time you saw that? That's the best I've seen. And look, I haven't followed closely, but I've been somewhat of a observer from far. Yeah. I know what a cannon looks like, and she's got one. Shortstop looks like it's going to be great. And I'm speaking defensively, obviously. I think our outfield, obviously, look, you lose a Maya Davis, you're going to take a step back in some places, but I don't see any real weakness out there, I guess is what I'm trying to say, and they're only going to develop. You're young, you're athletic, you're fast. Now, depth in the circle is going to be rough with the injuries, but there's nothing you can do about that. I say all that to say I'm really encouraged. And you take out the Texas game. Texas is in another league right now. We cannot, in years past, we might have been able to say, that's our measuring stick, but this is not that. We're in a different chapter. So you take that Texas game out. If you really want to look at it from an optimistic side of things, you played a poor game against Seton Hall to open the season. And look, Allie's in. There's a lot of pressure. That they're adrenalized. We've seen this in baseball. Who knows how they react when the lights come on? Well, they didn't react well, and that's part of it with a new team. Some of the culture is new to them too. They got to learn how to play in front of 2,000 people. That's different. But if you watch the progression over the weekend, they got better and better and better. They cleaned up a lot of stuff. I watched Allison. She was involved all the time. I like her style. And I'm going to say this because I said it to a couple of people in the stands. They agreed. Might be a hot take in 2025. There's something about having a female head coach lead the team that I like. I just do. And this is coming from a guy who coaches boys and girls. I coach a girls team. Sometimes my assistant is a female. Her communication style is completely different than mine.
That is the truth.
Mine works sometimes. Hers is on another. It's just completely different. They communicate in different ways that we can't pick up on. They're a higher intelligence species. I like having a female lead the females. I don't know. I don't know if that's I don't know if it's a hot take or if that's, you can't say that now, but I'm going to say it because it's true. So watching her do her thing and watch how the girls react to her, it seemed a lot less chaotic. Maybe it's her personality. Maybe it's her rubbing off on the team. No shot at Glasgow. I just thought it was always chaotic. I didn't feel that way watching this team this weekend. So a lot of little small things, intangibles were there. I really liked. I liked the progression. I liked the way the pitchers reacted, responded, whatever word you want to use. But I'm telling you, man, that Emily Smith, that's something. That might be the best pure hitter we've had here as a freshman since Lexi. And I know Lexi was a transfer, but seriously, she's like plug and play superstar level stuff. I can't wait to see her hit against, some of the better, like Ole Miss has got a decent pitching staff. I can't wait to see her play others. I know she kind of struggled against Texas, but look, you got to adjust. It's an adjustment. You got to adjust to the adjustment. So I think the arrow is pointing straight up. They look good. I like what I see. I like the talent. You just got to put it together.
Agreed. Jerry, I will give you final thoughts and then we will move on. But I will say before you go, Jerry, the hardest thing over the weekend was watching former players be successful at their new school. That pissed me off. And that's all I got to say. Jerry, go ahead and close it out for us.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think all of you guys have given a good input. I think this team is really the common denominator in everything we've said so far about this softball team is that it's a work in progress. And I think the last 3 games of this weekend showed a lot of encouragement. It showed me that once they calmed down and didn't face all of that pressure from the first 2 games, if they just go out and play loose and fast and hard, you're going to outscore your opponent 26-3 in 3 games, and so I expect more of that. I do like the fact that, like I said, they're going to be challenged against Ole Miss. They have Auburn, they have Alabama, they've got Houston down the line in the next 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm excited to see what they do against those teams. I'm excited to see if they face some adversity, how they respond against those teams. And look, after the first 2 games, I know people were kind of freaking out like, oh my gosh, what is this team going to do? I think it's safe to say those last 3 games calmed a lot of nerves. So no, I'm excited. I think, Josh, you mentioned communication, seeing that there was, it's funny you mentioned that because I noticed that at the Seton Hall game that I went to where you have Allie at third base. And of course you have Lacey Prejean, who's on our staff again. She's at first base. And there was just this kind of unspoken vibe on the field that I really liked. I don't know what it was. And then, of course, you got Shelby as coaching pitchers. I mean, look, this staff, I could definitely see the chemistry out there. So, again, it's a work in progress. I expect them to get better. And, I want to see who's going to step up in the next few weeks. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And my boy Jay Bird did say, if you're going to get us, you're going to get us early this season. I think that is the case. But before we do move on, I do want to ask you guys, for me this weekend, when you're facing Central Arkansas, Northern Illinois, Sam Houston, and then 2 against Ole Miss, to me, successful weekend is 4-1. Let's start with you, Josh. What are your thoughts on what's a successful weekend record-wise?
This is going to sound dumb, and I've tried 8 different ways to say it differently, but I honestly don't really care about the name on the front. And I'm not doing the coach speak thing. I really think that we're in a unique position for the first time in this softball program and maybe our lifetimes, honestly. I don't care about what the jersey says. Watch what individuals are doing game in and game out. Like Jerry mentioned, we're going to play some, Alabama and Ole Miss and all. Sure, I want to win. I hate losing. I'm a competitor. I want to win every time we step on the field. If you're my team that I root for, I want to win. I want to win. I think that if I think we can all do ourselves favors if we can just put that to the side just a little bit and just start to watch development. And this is why I say that as a somewhat new softball fan where I'm really starting to dig in and learn the game, it's exciting because when you go and dominate a Central Arkansas 15-1, I don't really learn anything. When I see you struggle against Seton Hall and then I see you dominate Seton Hall, and I'm familiar with what you can do and where you made mistakes in a previous game, I can truly track your progression. And I think that, and maybe it's just the age I am, and when you start coaching youth sports and stuff, you look at things differently. But I'm way more interested in watching these young pitchers become dominant pitchers, and I'm building towards conference. We have a winning streak in conference that, it's going to fall this year. I think we all know that. But who we're going to be in out of conference, who we're going to be at the beginning of conference, and who are we going to be at the end of conference, I think is maybe the way I'm looking at this season. So whether it be Central Arkansas or Arkansas, I'm really just looking for development. Now, if you're a results-driven person, I think you want to go 4-1. I agree with you. I think 4-1 is your goal. If you're looking for development, I don't think it really matters. You can go 2-3 and get better. You can go 2-3 and get better. You can go 4-1 and get worse.
That was a big question, and that's why I went to you first, because you called me out on it. I appreciate that.
I think that if you're honest with yourself,
don't matter right now. Record
100%.
does not matter until we get to conference.
And I don't think it's a cliche to say it that way right now. This is the first time ever we can do that with softball.
Blaine, we'll go to you next. What a successful weekend for the I almost said Lady Cajuns, Cajun softball.
So I think, like Josh said, records don't really matter, but in this instance, I feel like you have to go 1-1 against Ole Miss, worst case scenario, and then sweep the rest. But at the same time, it was a different team last year, but the team last year started 9-12, and then went on this crazy run and ended up hosting a regional. Now, not to say that'll happen this year, or it could, but as long as they get better every game, I feel like that's what's gonna be the best thing for them, is to do that moving forward.
Jerry, close us out. What is a successful weekend coming up this weekend?
Continuing to develop. I think out of 5 games, I'd love to see them go 3-2 or 4-1, but I think the circumstances play into that. I think in certain games, I want to see how they respond. I want to see if they give up an error in a few runs, how they respond. I want to see if a batter strikes out, what they're going to do in their next step bat. I want to see how the fielding is. If they give up a few runners on base, how do they respond to that? So that I really want to see them continue to develop by the way they respond. And that includes playing Ole Miss twice. Like Lane said, I'd love to split with Ole Miss. I think that would be huge progress if they split against a team like Ole Miss with this team. But again, it's very for right now, for like the first 3 or 4 weeks, everything's going to be very circumstantial to me with this team.
Yeah, and like Josh said, for once we're the hunter, not the hunted. So, you know what? We'll take it early this season. Moving on to Cajuns basketball, boys. We finally got a dub. We finally pulled it out in the end. Cajuns
we finished the game
against Northern Illinois, who, I mean, let's be honest, they're a lot like us, not having the season that they expected, struggling a bit, but we did get the win on the road 66-64. We'll start with you, Jerry. Thoughts on the game? We dropped a couple of really close games we probably should have pulled out at the end, but finally, by the hardest, we closed out this game and beat Northern Illinois. What are your thoughts?
I just love the fact that this team is still battling right now with everything that they've gone through since December, even in the games where they've lost. You know, Josh, you and I were joking back and forth about the South Alabama game, but the main factor is that this team hasn't quit. You know, regardless of how good they may be or how bad they may be or how much they've struggled in the past, or maybe they don't have the talent. At least I know Coach Zimmerman is forcing them to put 100% effort in every single one of their games. Even games they've lost handily, they still play to the final whistle. And really, in a situation like this, that's all I can really ask for. This game against Northern Illinois, they were down double digits in 2 or 3 different scenarios, and they made big runs to come back every time on the road. I mean, that's a team that just doesn't quit. And so, you know, with everything going on right now with the head coaching search, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a little bit, and with a team that's just trying to find an identity based on what they kind of have, kind of dealing with what they have. Look, I tip my hat off to this team. I mean, they're still grinding and they haven't quit. And that's in a situation like they're in. I tip my hat off to them for continuing to play and playing to the final buzzer.
Lane, thoughts on the game?
I think it was good that we finally were able to finish the game and get a win. I know we've struggled as of late to kind of do that, but regardless of win or lose, the guys are still playing for coach, and I think that's what really matters in this time among all the other stuff happening inside the program. I feel like playing for him and playing together is what's mattered most in this.
I think anything at this point is lagniappe, dude. If you know, any win at this point is lagniappe, Josh. I'm sure you agree with that. And if you're like me, I'm kind of like, just okay, we got to win, yay. What does it matter at this point? I don't know, because and I want you to comment on your thoughts about the season, but also want to transition that into your thoughts about the next head coach, because Mr. Man About Town had a nice little interview with a mystery coach. So of course, talk about, getting the win, but also talk about what you're hearing in the world of basketball and where our coaching decision may come into play.
I'll go game, season, coach.
There you go. Okay.
The fact of the matter is, and look, it's a cruel joke for you to go and appeal to my optimistic side with softball and then go right to my cynical side with basketball.
My bad. It's just natural progression of the pod today.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
So the fact of the matter is you beat a bad team. Shouldn't have been down double digits, but look, am I going to applaud the effort? Sure. Yeah, you beat a bad team. I think a lot of these guys are putting tape on so they can transfer. A lot of these guys are looking for other options. That's just fact of the matter.
I'm glad you said it. I didn't want to say it, but I'm glad you said it because I was going to say it.
And look, there's no shot on Zim. I think Zim's doing a great job, but from everything I'm hearing, he's played himself out of being a real candidate. So sometimes you can circle the wagons and it becomes tribal and, hey, they all think we can't do it. Let's show them. Maybe that's it. I'm assuming that's a guess, but I know that a lot of these guys have their eyes outside of the program and they're putting tape together. That's just what it is. I like Zeke Cook. I think he does so many things well. I think he's being misused, but I think he's being misused because we don't have a big man and it moved everybody around. You see guys with a lot of heart like Garnett. I mean, that guy just plays his heart out every single time out. Number 8, I can't pronounce his name.
Mustafa.
Mustafa. Yes.
Let's just go with it. Don't we call him Momo?
Sure. Let's go with Momo.
I'm gonna call him Momo.
He possesses a ton of talent. He's a little slow off the dribble for me, but he's tough and he's probably our toughest guy. He's our go get a bucket guy. It's a pleasure to watch him. He plays. He has a very pretty game. I like to watch him play. Outside of that, like I said, I think people are just they're putting together a highlight tape.
We got it. Well, we got to recruit big guys. I mean, we know. I think
the roster's in
apparent
shambles.
to everybody where we're deficient.
The roster's in shambles, and mystery coach, I called him Hoops John Doe. He even said that. He said, I've been to games this year around the state. He said you can go to Nichols and see better talented Nichols than you do in Lafayette, and that should just never happen. And some of that's injuries, and some of it is just total whiffing in recruiting. Again, not a shot at the guys. It's fact.
No. So tell me what you're hearing, Josh, as far as, aside from mystery coach, we're not going to name him, but what are you hearing on the coaching front and just in general, what are the rumblings around Martin Hall right now?
Well, first, let me say the season's a raving success. This season is going to get us it's already gotten us regime change, and it's going to get us a reset and hit the ground running in a new direction. And that's what we've been needing for 12 years.
I was going to say about 5 years too late, but go ahead.
No, I hate Marlon more than most. So maybe I'm being a little over. Maybe we're about 6 years overdue. Whatever. The fact is that it's way beyond due. We got to get the fan base back. We got to get Lafayette back in love with Cajun basketball. I mean, because right now, you got more excitement in a morgue. That's the truth. So I think the season's a success because of that. As far as coaches, I think we're down to roughly 6 finalists. I mean, I think most of you guys know the names. If I guess we haven't really talked about candidates on the pod.
No, we haven't.
From everything I'm hearing, Brock Morris is going to make the finalist list, or has made the finalist list because they've already gotten down. Kevin Johnson's on that list. Coach Zimmerman was there at some point. I think he's no longer on that list. He may be on the list, but I don't think he's a serious candidate. I'm gonna hold back on a couple names because I don't want to mess up any sources there.
We don't want to ruin anything. So,
absolutely,
yeah, totally.
Some strange names that you guys probably wouldn't think is helping in this whole process. There's a coach 60 Minutes to the West who's been heavily involved in the search and having some conversations with people that are in the search committee, as I'm referring to them. But some local names that we would like to see be interviewed have spoken to the right people. So that's about as vague as I can be without giving it away. I'll say that I think that maybe the names won't have the star power that people want. I think that when the dust settles, if everything that we're hearing is true, I think that folks are going to be happy with our options. And there are 2 in particular that I think would really rally the fan base I think there are two in particular that would get people back in the dome, which is what we need. And from everything I'm hearing, the search committee, Martin Hall, and the Cox building are all in agreement. The top priority is getting revenue back in basketball and getting the fans back and fixing the scheduling and getting the community to support it again the way it used to. There's almost no talk of the success on a resume. And I'm thrilled to hear that because that's almost not relevant at the point. I didn't mention the guy at Houston, Jerry. What's his last? Is his White? What's his first name?
Champagne?
Qantas
White.
Yeah.
Champagne.
Qantas White.
I was going to Bobby Champagne. What?
Oh yeah.
No, not Bobby.
He was no, he's at Houston. Well, he was at Houston.
He
but
was for a while.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys have local ties. A lot of these guys were either players or on staff here before, and a lot of you recognize those names. It's yet to be seen. From everything I'm being told, by the end of February, we'll know something. Or, well, let me rephrase. By the end of February, they will have made a decision. Somewhere mid-March after the season has died down, we're going to find out. That's everything I'm hearing. And typically you get information. I call it info dumps. Typically you get an info dump like a week and a half, 2 weeks after it actually happens. I got my ear to the ground. I'm trying to find out stuff. I'm going to be very careful because obviously we have people reaching out that are trying to get the word out. And I'm going to do that delicately, but man, do I have some good stuff. God.
I love it, man.
Yeah,
we'll never do anything to jeopardize a coaching hire or something. Jerry, you've been chomping at the bit. Give us your final thoughts and we'll move on.
Yeah, I'm gonna just follow everything Josh just said. Yes, we've been hearing some things, we've been hearing some rumblings, but at the same time, I kind of threw my hands up at the fan support stuff because that's their number one priority. Yet we've been screaming that for the last 5 years, but then we get yelled at for it. So I just wanted to call out that irony, but I'm glad that some folks have seen the light and the importance of that because, I went on a rant last week about what our expectations are. I know I kind of went back in the past. Josh, I want to ask you that directly. Do you think with the NIL world where everything's transactional now that we can succeed? Because the excuses I've heard lately is because of NIL, we don't have the money and we can't compete at the level that the fans expect us to compete. I want to hear your thoughts on that and what you think about that as far as our mindset goes.
I mean, I think losers make excuses and winners win. That's what I think. How come McNeese is winning? I don't need to go to the Final Four every year, but sure would be nice to make the tournament 2 out of 5 years. I mean, damn, we have a very low bar to clear here. Of course, there's money everywhere. It all depends on the person to unlock it. Hudspeth did it.
Sunbelt ain't great, bro. Like,
when Gonzaga started winning the WCC every year, it was an ass league. I mean, it wasn't as bad as the Sun Belt, but it certainly wasn't one of the top 5. And now they're a blue blood. They're in contention every single year. Yeah, they had an influx of money, but they invested in a coach like Mark Few who knew what the hell he was doing. Established recruiting pipelines, had great relationships with local high schools, became a national brand. It has to start somewhere. It took him 20 years, but he had to start somewhere. I mean, freaking Loyola Chicago went to how many Sweet 16s in a row?
3, 2,
went to
or
a
3.
Final Four and then a Sweet 16. Loyola freaking Chicago had 3,000 students.
But they tried, Josh. They tried.
Listen, man, I don't want to hear anybody talk to me about NIL. NIL is not everything. Yeah, it's important, of course. It changed the landscape of college athletics. And yeah, you're going to have relationships, but some of it is transactional. What are we doing? What's the support system? What have we built behind the scenes for our recruits to feel supported, to feel like they're getting advancement here in Lafayette? We have tools that other places don't. How are we using them? How is the university empowering local businesses to help them use them? What is this collective that we have, this crew along? It's like a shadow government. We never see it. It's not forward facing. We know very little about it.
Who's in charge, by the way?
Who's in charge? Who's reaching out? Do they have a sales team? Do they have a coaching component to it to help you advance your career, find ways to make yourself money?
We do have a parade.
But you see what I mean? Like,
yeah.
We have tools in the belt. We're not using them. So it's so easy. It's lazy. It's loser to say, oh, NIL. Oh, this is NIL. Anybody can say the entire. Well, let's shut down collegiate athletics because everybody can look at it and say, well, NIL. You think Coach Deggs looked at it and said, well, NIL, we're not going to compete. No, what
No.
he did was he came up with a system to reward the kids in a monetary way, and it's going to work because he bought in. He has the buy-in from the right people.
One
because
word.
he has the right support system.
One word, Josh, proactive. You need a coach that's proactive in NIL. You need a coach that's proactive in the community. And I'm just going to say it now. Bob Marlin was not. He was not. He didn't go in the community.
The roster this year, and I mean, we were flat-footed after guys left. We had no answer. We had none.
And I know people that are huge fans of the former coaching staff, and they're all like, "Man, the past is the past. Let it go." No, I'm not going to let it go because we're in the situation.
Well, they might be, and then
they are. But and you know what? The reason why we're in the situation we're in is because the attitude that these people followed. So yes, I'm about to go on a rant again because we shouldn't be here right now. We should not be here right now. We shouldn't be averaging 6th place. We should not be having 300 people in the Cajun Dome. But here we are. And Josh, I know what you're saying about it was a big victory that we made a coaching change, but at the same time, it should have never gotten to this point. You know, it should have never gotten to this point. And so the new coach, whoever it is, and I trust that, you know, Brian Maggart's going to make a great hire and get somebody involved if the number one priority is getting fan support out there. But guess what? The new coach is going to have to do something that our previous coach didn't do. He's going to have to go knock on doors. He's going to have to go shake hands. He's going to have to go say hello to people and not hang out with the same 10 to 12 people in his little clique to get fan support. That's how it's going to work. Matt Deggs does it. Hell, Allison Habits did it. Allison Habits had to rebuild her entire program. Our head coach left because of NIL and because of the situation that we were in with being behind with these major programs in softball. That's not stopping our current softball coach from doing what she's doing and she said it in her opening press conference. I'm here to win the Natty. Did she say, man, NIL's hard, so I can't win here? No, she wants to win the Natty. That should be our mindset with including, you know, the one bid league in basketball. We'll be the one bid. Go be the one bid, regardless of what NIL is. Go try. So I'm hoping the new coach can do that.
We're trying to solve problems we don't have. We're talking about NIL at an elite level. We're not making the damn tournament. How about we fundraise to make the tournament? And then once we get there, let's solve the problem. And then if we're talking about a Sweet 16 appearance, then that is a completely different stratosphere of problem. Will Wade he's got, and I know this year has not been what they expected, but last year he had a tournament appearance, got a 12 seed, and literally was in the game. I mean, he played Gonzaga. You know, they were in the game for a little while. He kind of got blown away, but that is a real problem. When you have a team like what they had in Lake Charles, and it goes against a 1 seed or they were a 5 seed or whatever.
5 seed, yeah.
When he goes against a blue blood like Gonzaga, and then they come home to Lake Charles, they go, yeah, NIL is a problem. We need a fundraise. That's a real problem. We don't have that problem. We're not good enough to have that problem. How about we address the problem that we have right now? The problem we have now is we had a lazy-ass coach who wouldn't get off his ass and go fundraise. Let's find a coach that will. Let's find a coach that understands being a mid-major coach. I can say it here. Being a mid-major coach entails knocking on doors.
Okay, yes, I'll give it to you.
Basketball, of course.
Correct.
Knocking on doors, asking businesses for money, you know, doing the Cypress Bayou casino nights and all the things. It's part of the job description. You don't get a bonus for asking people to support your program. They have to believe in you to buy into your program. You're not necessarily selling the program, you're selling yourself. And Bob Marlin lost that halfway through his tenure here, and nobody could convince him otherwise. To the point where he literally was telling supporters too close to him that, and we've probably told this story on the show before, I can't go into the community because people won't give me money. They don't like me.
They don't know you, bro.
First of all,
it wasn't wrong. They didn't like him because they didn't buy into him, and they had every reason not to.
But if a head coach is saying that about his program, that that he doesn't even believe in himself, you shouldn't be the head coach.
But Jerry, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back into that era.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to.
I don't either.
Bob.
I don't either.
I get it.
But I don't either. But I think the point is this next coach, and I'm hoping we make a grand slam hire. Our next coach needs to understand that. Our next coach needs to go be as aggressive. Like, I want our next coach to say in the press conference, you know what? I understand the circumstances, NIL, all these hard challenges we have. Screw it. I want to go to the Sweet 16. Give me that. Now, I'm not saying that means we're going to go to the Sweet 16, just like Allison Habit says we're going to win the Natty. But at least you have a goal. At least you have a goal, and at least you have a certain expectation that will force you to get off your behind and go to work and try to produce for your program.
What's the first thing he said when he came in?
We're going to Omaha,
baby.
We're going to Omaha.
We're going to do it. It doesn't mean we're going to do it tomorrow, but my goal is that.
But at least I know the path to get there, and the route to get there. Number one is good baseball. Put us in the top 25 last year. We've gone to regionals last 3 years, and that's our standard. That's our expectation. So the goal to try to get to Omaha, the pathway to trying to get there is fun as well because you're seeing success. I'll take that all day.
We'll know immediately. We'll know immediately if we have the right guy.
We'll know in the press conference.
If
we'll see it.
If they hire a coach that understands that 50% of this hire is about you coming in and getting this competitive in the Sun Belt again, but the other 50% is getting this community buy back in. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, I think that, first of all, this is Brian Mager's most important hire to date because he's resurrecting a dead program. When he hired Billy Napier, the program wasn't dead. It was, there was some lean years, but it certainly wasn't dead. Basketball's dead, man. This is a total rebuild. This is a start over. This is Bustle taking over for freaking Toothpick. This is big. This is big stuff. Because if he can't get the revenue back in basketball, I don't know how much longer we survive like this. We're already scraping the bottom.
You think about baseball. I mean, we went from robe to Degs. You went from Glasgow to Habits. You went from HUD to Napier. The cupboard wasn't bare for any of them. Okay, even though HUD had his down years, cupboard wasn't bare. Napier won with a lot of his guys. This is different. It's going to be a total rebuild. It's going to be from top to bottom. Going to have to replace and revive the program. So I agree with you, Josh, on what you said. We're going to know everything we need to know very early, and that's going to be with the first press conference, what he says. So
I'm prepared to have my heart broken. So we'll see. I know who I want. I do. And
I know who you want.
It's not particularly close, to be honest with you. If with the names that we gave out and the names that we know are involved, I know who I want, and he's one of 6. He's one of 6, and I hope he gets the job because I know he'll crush it here because he understands the mission. Guys, cannot impress this upon enough. You need people who understand the mission, and specifically in Lafayette, Louisiana, we need a certain kind. To be successful again in basketball, we need a certain kind. And there's one of 6, maybe two, but one of 6 understands the mission. So I'm prepared to have my heart broken. We'll see.
Look, let me tell you something. Did Tony Robichaux come from a major school when he took the job here? No, he was from Crowley and coached at McNeese for a couple years. And then he came here and brought us to national relevance in a span within a decade. You don't have to have, don't get me wrong. I know the resume is a big deal, but like you said, when you come to the culture here, it's more than just what you did on your resume. Obviously, you have to have success, but you have to have a special personality to really make it work over here.
Beautifully said. All right, boys. Well, we'll wrap up the basketball conversation, and we're going to have a little bit of fun. Baseball word association. Well, I called it baseball, but we're going to go all over the place because I didn't give you these words. Some of them are 3 words, so ignore that. But basically what I'm going to do is go around the horn. Let's say we'll go Jerry, Lane, and Josh. Okay, so Jerry, you'll be first. Lane, you're second. Josh will be third. I'm going to give you a word, a couple words, and you give me your first thought. You got 5 seconds to respond. If you don't, you'll get buzzed, and you don't want to get buzzed. That's like falling, when they throw the ball and you fall in the water. You don't want that to happen, okay? So we're going to go down word association. I've got about 10, so we'll try to do this as quickly as possible. As I said, Jerry, we will start with you. First word or words association, Natty Lights. First thing that comes to mind, go.
Now a ripoff.
Lane?
Should be $2.
Josh?
Humongous promotional fail.
All right, next word association. Let's go. We'll do the same thing. Jerry, Teague Moore.
Friday night, can't wait.
Lane?
The Teague.
All right, Josh?
Take your hat off during the national anthem.
Yes, indeed. Take your damn hat off. I'm thinking popcorn. The man would always make me get popcorn for him. All right, let's go Cajun Cooking Club. Jerry?
Home style Cajun cooking, can't beat it.
Lane?
Best food in the nation.
Josh?
The most unique thing in college baseball.
I'm thinking greasy microphone because after I ate that food, my microphone was always so greasy. All right. Let's go Yvette Gerard. Jerry.
Legend.
All right, Lane.
Softball.
Josh.
Prodigal daughter.
All right, this one's going to be fun. We'll start with you again, Jerry. Mike Lotief.
The past.
Lane.
That's all I got.
Josh.
Fat Alberts.
Hey, that's some good fried chicken. Ain't gonna lie. All right, Lafayette Mardi Gras. Jerry.
Not New Orleans.
Lane.
Could be better.
Josh.
Better than New Orleans.
I was gonna say could be worse. Better than New Orleans is definite. All right, best boudin. Go, Jerry.
Best stop.
Lane.
Best up.
Josh.
Best stop. Nice job.
Don't sleep on Karshner's, man. Now look. Okay.
Think about what you're saying right now.
Best stop. All
Careful.
right,
Careful.
moving on. Head coach Kellen Moore. Jerry.
Upside.
Lane.
Looking forward to seeing what he can do.
And Josh.
Doesn't really matter until Mickey's gone.
Final word association. Let's go with Mickey Loomis. Jerry.
Way overdue. Gotta go.
Lane.
Should have been fired midseason.
And Josh.
Bane of my existence.
Beautiful. I was going to say a-hole, but speaking of Mickey Loomis, by the way, how about Jono Barnes today? Had a nice little interview with him. I call him a New Orleans legend. He almost fell out of his chair. But Jono is a good dude. If you have the chance, listen to Nick's triple take. It was only one take today. Well, technically we had a bunch of takes, but Jono is cool as shit. And this shit more than a game is his brand. So please go out and support the dude. He is looking to make some UL gear, which is going to be really cool. In fact, he showed us a little preview on the video. So Jono Barnes, very cool. Josh, before we call it a night, got to ask you, the bus driver. You want to talk about what that means? What's going on, man? I see you talking about that on social media. Now you got it on your thing here. Like, bus? What are we talking about, bro?
Just driving the bus on some good content, Nick. I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't want to talk about it, huh?
No, look, we're gonna buy a bus. I know that sounds ridiculous, but we're buying a bus.
You're welcome,
we're gonna have a
brother.
Ragin Review bus.
Yeah, I'm literally like thinking of giving thousands of dollars to buy a damn bus.
It's not that much.
We're gonna have a rolling Ragin Review studio if this works out. Lane, you were the man for bringing it to our attention.
This is why we brought Lane in, because he does
man.
all this stuff behind the scenes. Like he did he did the bus. He comes up, like he'll text us this random stuff, these ideas, like just brainstorming ideas. And we're like, dude, that's brilliant. This is why we brought him on. I mean, the dude is fantastic
We're buying a
behind the
freaking
scenes.
bus, dog.
And what's funny is
What are we
he just
doing?
sent his, he goes, hey, I think your text was like, do you want to buy a bus? And I'm like, well, and then Josh, I was more surprised at the reaction of Josh, because Josh went on like this essay, like 5 or 6 straight text messages about how we could buy it, what we can do with the
Why we need
furniture,
it.
how we can all chip in, what we can do with it.
It's got
The
the
man's
casting
light bulb
couch.
went
It's
on.
got
Went
the casting
on.
couch.
You know?
Like beautiful.
Oh yeah.
The idea behind it is, you remember when College Game Day did the tour?
Yes.
Yeah. I
So
think
the
they
idea
still do.
behind it is there. So you can basically live in the thing. It's a touring bus, and we'll put a mobile studio in there. We'll deck it out to where you can do a tailgate, with the grill and TV or whatever. And we're gonna find sponsors to pay for it.
They got
That's
beds,
pretty much the plan.
bro. Like we can sleep on
We can live on it. We can live on it.
Casting
So-
couch,
so-
beds, bathroom.
The idea is to take the show on the road, follow the Cajuns across the country when we can. Obviously we're not going to be going to, Seattle and Maine in the same season,
Says
but
who? Maybe.
well, it says diesel prices. That's what. But
Yeah.
but look, why can't we hit the Sunbelt Conference tournaments, and why can't we hit some, a Southern Miss, an ODU, a Texas State? We'll hit those, and we have so many things happening right now. This kind of happened out of nowhere, so I just started putting it all together. I hope it comes to fruition. I'm gonna try really hard to make it happen, but I think it's unlocked a new level of we need to do more. So
Okay, here's the question.
bus is
The
gonna be
biggest
cool.
question before you go, Jerry. I got to ask the biggest question. Who the hell is going to drive the bus? I know what I mean.
Well, we got a chauffeur guy in the group message. Drewski.
Okay. Okay.
Drewski's got his chauffeur license, but we'll probably have to all step up and maybe get a chauffeur license. It can't be that hard.
I won't be sober enough with you MFers to be able to drive it. So let's count me out. You guys might have it. I don't know if I trust Jerry Lane, maybe. But yeah, Jerry, you just look like a dad driver, like it would piss me off in traffic. I'm just saying.
Look, after what I experienced today, it's cool. It's ironic that you say that. So yes, no, I'm scratching my name off the list myself.
Yeah.
I'll play
good
passenger.
Idea. I forgot about that.
Passenger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Hey, we'll take volunteers. If anybody has a chauffeur license and they'd like to drive around their RR bus, hey,
I'll take it.
Send it an application.
That would be that would be wild. I mean, could you imagine the boot driving the bus?
Change his name to the bus.
The bus.
There it is.
That's awesome. Well, boys, it's been fun. Thank you, Josh, Jerry, Lane. Any final thoughts before we call it a night? No?
Still a lot to come this week from Ragin Review, so stay tuned.
Oh, yes.
Smash that subscribe button, like, rate, review, spread it everywhere. It helps us a whole lot. Thanks, Coach Brad Sanfilippo, for joining Ragin Review.
Coach Flip.
I just want to say that on the Ragin Review pipeline looks pretty doggone good right now. I'm just going to say 2 words to everybody who listens. Get ready.
Bro, you've been saying that for 2 weeks.
I'm going to keep saying it. Get ready.
Looking forward to the start of baseball season and looking forward to the Kendall Rogers interview.
As Josh said, like, subscribe, share, tell your mom and them what we do. We got big things coming up, boys and girls. Stay tuned for more on that. For Lane, for Jerry, for the bus driver, Josh, I'm Nick. Have a good night. Behave yourselves. Good night, everybody.